Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Helt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This week, my guest is Stephen Wagner, and he is the CEO of Integrity Wealth Advisors. With decades of experience, Stephen is dedicated to helping individuals and business owners grow, preserve, and distribute wealth with integrity. A former business instructor at Ventura Community College, he brings both real-world experience and academic insight to his work. Welcome, Stephen.
Welcome. Thank you for having me on your show.
Great. Hey, give us your background, kind of what, obviously you did some teaching. What did you do before, you started up Integrity?
Yeah, I like that decades of experience part. I'm feeling every day of it some days these days. But yeah, I started off very, very young. I was a bank teller of all things and went into the insurance business after that. I found that I really loved working with people. In the teller line. A real quick story. I loved it when people would come up to my booth. We get into conversations, and sometimes those would go on too long, and I would get in trouble for that. So I realized what I really wanted to do was be in the financial world, but not in the banking world as a teller. And so one thing led to another. Became an insurance agent, and then in 1989. Decades ago, I did get my CFP designation and started my practice, Integrity Wealth Advisors, in 1993. So it's been a while.
Great. So, you just said that you got your CFP. For those who don't know, what does that mean?
Certified Financial Planner. It's probably the most recognized and respected designation in our industry. And I was fortunate to be one of the early ones to get that designation, and I'm happy I did.
Now you have some other letters that are behind your name. Can you
Sure.
tell us what those are and what does it mean?
Yeah, the CEPA or CEPA. First of all, it's not a exotic wild animal from some other country. It sounds like it,
Right.
But it's a certified exit planning advisor. One of the things, as in your business, as a business owner, I'm a business owner, we experience unique and, challenges and problems and opportunities being such. Mm-hmm. And I work with a lot of clients that are in the same boat. And so, when you're 20, 30, 40, you're starting a business, but when you're 60, 70, you're thinking about selling or exiting that business. And I've always been giving advice to clients in that regard, but I just felt a couple of years ago that I wanted a little more formal, nuanced training. And I heard about this designation, and I decided to get it. And I'm very, very glad that I did. It's been very helpful.
Now, depending on what commercials you listen to, people talk about, that they are a fiduciary that's representing their clients. Can you explain to the listeners kind of what does that mean?
Yeah, fiduciary is somebody who puts client interest first. And I've always found this a little comical in a sense. A few years ago, they made it a law that you must be a fiduciary. You must, under potential criminal penalties, put your client's interest first. We've always done that. I've done that all my life. My father and mother, God bless them, God rest their souls, train me to be honest, act with integrity, always treat people the way they should be treated. And so we carried that into our business and have done that for decades. But basically, they made it a rule. That's how bad some of the actors are in our industry. Yeah. They had to make it a rule, which I, think is fantastic. But fiduciary is putting your client's interests always first ahead of your own.
Now, you said that they've made this a law now. So are there groups or organizations or companies out there that aren't fiduciaries anymore?
Oh, absolutely, there are. Anyone that basically sells products via a commission route are not fiduciaries. But when you go into the advisory world, which we're in, we're fee based. So we have our own RIA, registered investment advisory firm. We are required to do that. We're required by law to be a fiduciary.
Okay. So when someone says that they're a financial advisor, then that means a lot of different things.
Sure.
And um, when someone is looking at hiring someone to help them, with their investments, what are some of the things that they should be looking for?
Yeah, excellent question. And a lot of people call themselves financial advisors when in fact they are insurance agents.
Right.
They don't really have any designation or training per se in looking at an individual or a family's or a business owner's situation from a much broader standpoint. And so, to answer your question, I would be looking for the CEPA designation or the CEPA designation or
Mhm.
some other equivalent designation and ask them, tell me about this designation. How much work did it take to get this designation? Where can what website can I go to learn more about it? You're going to find out a lot about, how hard it was to get that designation,
Sure.
and what all it encompassed.
Right. When someone's what else should someone be looking for, when they're looking to have that, I'm going to go trusted advisor.
Well, certainly they should have a comfort level. I think people should interview two or three or maybe even four advisors, because I think, beyond just the competence, knowing how to do what an advisor does, you've got to feel like this person's gonna go to bat for you. You've got to feel good about the relationship and that you have an open line of communication. So I would say that would be number one. Number two, I would ask them for references. Um, yeah, they'll probably give you their best clients or friends, but you can talk to somebody like that and really find out if this is going to be a good fit for you. So I would say those two things primarily: interview two or three or four, get to know them, got to make sure you have a good feel that this is going to be an open relationship, and then get some references.
What where can we go to find out kind of how long that they've been licensed, and do they have any negative marks against them or any complaints?
Yeah, so there's the FINRA. You can just Google FINRA, and there's a thing called broker check. And if you Google that, you can go right to a link, put in the person's name and city, and boom, it'll be right there.
Great, great. So kind of shifting gears here a little bit, business owners,
Yeah.
because you are an exit strategist, you're dealing with a lot of business owners, you know, through the growth and hopefully the exit on their terms.
Mhm.
What are some of the common mistakes that you see these business owners making when it comes to growing their business and trying to plan for an exit?
I think the most important mistake, quite frankly, that business owners make is that they want to sell their business when it's not ready for sale. Let me
Mhm.
give you some stark statistics. 80% of all businesses that are put up for sale never sell. That's astonishing. So you've worked all your life, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into this, and you put it up for sale and it doesn't sell 80% of the time. The 20% that do sell, 75%, I think the number is, of those owners, 1 year out, regret the sale. Why is that? I believe it has to do with lack of forethought, lack of planning. When you want to sell your business, you're probably 2 or 3 years out from really selling it. There's a whole variance of things that we can talk about as to why that is. But, I'll just give one. Typically in a business, you'll have the CEO or owner or sole proprietor be responsible for all the sales. Okay. Well, think about it. If somebody wants to buy your business, you're not going to be there, right?
Right.
So if you're responsible for all the sales, then what's your business worth if you're not there? Well, we know the answer to that, and so does a potential buyer. So there's a lot of things that, owners of businesses need to do from a planning standpoint to prepare the business for sale, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years out. They've got to be thinking that far ahead, and then they can get max value for their blood, sweat, and tears.
In doing your help with the exit planning and stuff, obviously you're counseling them before they sell to try to help them get things ready.
Mm-hmm.
What about after they sell?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you help them with then?
Well, that's actually something that we involve ourselves in even before the sale. What is your next chapter?
Right.
What are you going to do with your life? Most business owners, I'm sure you'd agree, being one yourself, we spend, 50, 60, 70 hours a week doing this. Do we have any other hobbies? Do we have other outlets? Do we have charitable organizations that we've been involved with, so that when this ends, we have something to fill our time? It's really super important. It's not just about money. They may wind up with a ton of money in their pocket, but I've seen folks with a ton of money in their pocket and nothing to do,
Right.
and they're not happy. So that's something that we do prepare our clients for, even our clients that aren't business owners, quite frankly.
Yeah.
That are getting ready to retire. We really try to help them navigate what are you going to do with your time afterward, and that's something that's really appreciated.
Yeah. It's funny, Stephen. I have this conversation all the time when I have the couple come into the office and they're like, hey, Bob's decided he's going to retire this year. And you could see kind of the angst on the wife's face. And it's just like, and I'm like, hey, Bob, so what are your plans? And he's like, oh, I've already talked to my advisor. We're set. We're good. And I'm like, no, what are you going to do?
Right.
And the same
Exactly.
thing. And it's like, when we're done with the conversation, the wife leans over and pats me on the hand and was like, hey,
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad you asked that question. Because it is, she's got her routine and everything else. And now all of a sudden Bob's there involved. And it's just like, no, I got my girls I'm going to go see. I got my things that I'm doing. I don't want you around. So I think that is something that's huge for people, not doing that planning and not having that forward look, thoughts on what they're going to do.
Yep. Absolutely.
So what is one of the biggest mistakes that you're seeing entrepreneurs make right now, besides not preparing for sale?
Yeah. So I it's a fair question, and I think it's one that I've experienced. There's two sets of business owners. There's a business owner that is using his or her business as a lifestyle vehicle. They're not paying any attention to building it up to sell it. They've got the business. They're pulling as much money out from the business as they can, and they have a big home and a boat and all those other accoutrements. Then of course there's the other set that they've got this business, they have a good lifestyle, but they're really looking to build the business up to be a legacy, for example, as a succession to kids or employees that are there. So those are two totally different mindsets. One is worth potentially a lot of money. The other, as I said before, potentially is worth zero.
Yeah.
And so the mistake that person makes, nothing wrong with having a lifestyle business. There's no harm, no foul in not wanting to build a business up to sell it at some point. But if you're not going to have that as a key and core objective, you're pulling money out of your business. You got to take a lot of that money and put it away. You got to view that as your succession planning. You got to view that as the sale, so to speak, of your business. What you are bringing in, you've got to set aside. And the mistake that I see is they think that's going to go on forever. And then, 5, 10, 15, 20 years go by and they find themselves at 55 or 60 and they don't have anywhere near the nest egg, the buildup of investment assets that would equate to the lifestyle that they've been enjoying. Now, you talk about an unhappy wife
Yeah,
or
no doubt.
spouse. There,
Yeah.
that's the spouse is going to be very, very unhappy. So that would be one really huge mistake there.
Yeah, I see, along the lines of what you're just saying is that, and I always say that's the difference between owning a business versus owning a job.
Yes.
And many
Yep.
people own a job because, like you're saying, it's like, hey, if I'm trying to sell my business and I'm the person who's doing all the sales and all of the grunt work and stuff like that, what is it that I'm really selling?
Right.
And I think that that's one of the things where people kind of get lulled into this false sense of security that, oh, I'm going to be able to sell this business for so much.
Mhm.
And it's just not there anymore. And I think even with the venture capital that's out there that was buying up a lot of these businesses, the multiple that they're buying at isn't as high as it used to
Mhm.
be.
Mhm.
Um, and I think people are just, kind of have that false sense of security, when it comes to that.
Yep.
Um, because you were a teacher, tell us how you've taken that and really brought that into the business and been able to help you and the other employees that you have work with your clients.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I did build my business teaching at a local community college. Evening adult education classes is what they're termed. 3-week courses on a 3-week course on financial planning. That's what it was. So using at the time there wasn't PowerPoint. That was way before PowerPoint.
Right.
Uh, Old-fashioned stuff that I did there, which I still fondly remember. But I feel like I've taken that into the practice and mentored the younger advisors here to keep it simple. We do use a lot of visuals, very simple, easy to understand visuals when we're sitting down with a client, whether it's a prospective client or it's a client that we have right now and the market's falling and everybody's afraid and they're watching the news and they're wringing their hands and they're ready to go find the Brooklyn Bridge and jump. Sometimes when you show them a simple visual of, say, the market from a historical perspective, and you look at all the times it went down, it always went back up again. And guess what? It kept going up, and then it went down, and then it went right back up to the old high, and it kept going up. It's one thing to say that to a client, but when they see the actual historical proof in a visual, yeah, that probably is the equivalent to several martinis,
Right.
and it's a lot healthier.
Right.
So,
Right.
keeping things simple, educating clients about not just stock market and financial market statistics, but all the other things that we do here. Social Security, Medicare planning, estate planning, tax planning, all of these different things. We try to keep it simple, and thankfully, technology today allows for that. It's really amazing, and we try to keep up on that.
Yeah. I think, lots of times, people feel overwhelmed with kind of all of this. And a lot of people now with the current administration and the way things are going, a lot of them are panicking.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely. It's
how
another
are,
level of uncertainty. That's for sure.
correct. Um, how are you helping them kind of overcome this fear that they have right now?
Yeah, it goes back to the last comment. There's the historical proof, but there's also a lot of history, that we can go back and show, okay, if you only voted for a Republican president, this is what your returns would be. If you
Right.
only voted for a Democrat, this is what your returns would be. And of course, they both pale into comparison to what your returns would be if you just left your money in the market or that percentage of your portfolio that is
Right.
dedicated to the market.
Right.
If you just leave it alone, you're going to be okay. So that is been a lot of it. we've been fashioning ourselves as, view us as clinicians. I've got a white robe on, I've got, a stethoscope. I'm going to check your heartbeat and your lungs and all that kind of stuff. I'm only interested in the facts. And we actually put that visual up, and we'll put up another visual. It'll say a no politics zone. Yeah. So we really want clients we're trying to get them to set all of that aside, because at the end of the day, it's the facts that matter. And what are the facts saying today about the economy and the markets and everything else? All the rest of it is just, adding to the day-by-day volatility. But if you stretch that out over a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, hey, the power of American capitalism and American business and U.S. corporate profits trumps it all, no pun intended, but it does. It supersedes it all. And that's where we can really help people say, you know what, you may not like this administration, or you may love this administration, but that emotion should be out of the equation when it comes to your investing.
Yeah, and I'm going to say even in business, that's the same thing. You got to be able to remove that emotion.
Yes.
Because otherwise you're not thinking clearly, and you're going to make mistakes, especially if you're having a knee-jerk reaction to something.
100% agree. Absolutely truthful. Yep.
So
and
Steve,
that's what, by the way, that's what fear does. Fear biologically blocks our ability to think, and we make stupid decisions. It's the fight or flight. Yep. It's great for running and defending, but it's terrible for making decisions.
Yeah, agreed. Steve, we've covered a lot of stuff. What have I not asked you wish I had?
Well, I mean, financial planning is a wide range of things, and I would say you've asked a lot of great questions. I mean, you've asked questions that are going to help potential clients build a good relationship with an advisor, which I think is foremost. I think if your listeners could take one thing away from this, and one thing only, when it comes to, say, investing, which is just one part of financial planning, but we're just going to look at this. They could take one thing away. It's that their advisor, that trusted advisor that they build a relationship with, is worth the 1% that you're paying them. If the only thing they did was keep you in the market, that would pay for itself. Now, financial advisors use so many other things. I think another question that I think is a good one is, how does a person, feel comfortable about doing planning? A lot of people are afraid of it. Okay. Again, get an advisor. It's kind of like if you have a disorganized closet or bedroom. I mean, you hate going in there and seeing it all, but when you take the time to organize it, clean it up, wow, open the curtains, open the window, get some fresh air in there, boy, you're feeling great about that room. Right. Same thing with financial planning. When you don't have a plan, but you've got parts all over the place. You have a 401k, you got savings, you got a house, you got this personal loan over here, maybe you got a business. It's all very confusing. It feels like a cluttered room.
Sure.
But when you have an advisor that can sit down with you, organize that's what a good plan will do. It'll visualize it for you. A lot of clients are able to log into their financial plan and look at it, make what if changes and whatnot. When you get that all organized, boy, you feel great. It's like a breath of fresh air. So I would say that would be something your listeners could really take from this as a huge positive and motivator, to get a plan. Okay. Work with a good advisor. Don't be ashamed or bashful that you're paying 1%. They are worth every penny of it if they're working on your behalf.
Great. Stephen, if people want to talk to you, talk to your group and learn more, how can they reach you? Where can they find you?
Sure. We're on a wide variety of social media. Our web address is iwaplan.com. And our office number here is 805-339-0760. And be happy to help anybody.
Great. Stephen, really appreciate your time today. Enjoyed our conversation.
Gary, I enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure. Hey, this week my guest was Stephen Wagner, and he is the CEO of Integrity Wealth Advisors. And I'll see you guys next week.